You know what it is. The morning after, West Virginia, 45, Robert Morris 3. We're going to talk about it here today on Between Ears. Good morning, everyone. Schuyler Callihan here with another episode of Between the Ears. It is the morning after West Virginia took down Robert Morris 45-3 in the season opener. We're going to talk a little bit more about it here today. But before we do, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button on our YouTube page at West Virginia on SI, and a rundown of our weekly schedule throughout the football season. Every Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we'll have a new episode of Between the Ears. Every Thursday, we will have the Walk Thru GameDay Show. This week, we'll be obviously breaking down West Virginia's matchup on the road against Ohio. And Saturday, we'll have the postgame show recapping the action from Athens. So, 45-3. It was not pretty at the start. I think that's pretty obvious. The second half, much better. It was a tale of two halves in a lot of ways. But it was kind of how I expected it to go in a lot of ways. It wasn't going to be pretty. And even if it's against a team that you should dominate, there's just so many new players trying to come together and figure this thing out on the fly. And this is why I've always been a huge advocate of there should be a preseason game. A preseason game. I'm not saying 2 or 3, but college football needs to have a preseason game. And I don't want to turn this into a whole episode that's talking about scheduling and all that stuff, but I'm just going to quickly talk about this. In the future, I think it makes a ton of sense to scrap these FCS games. FCS plays in their level. The FBS plays in their level. All 12 of your regular season games are against Power 4 opponents and G5 opponents, or however you want to, divide it up. And then the FCS gets one preseason game against FBS teams, and that helps both get ready for the season. They can still get a payday for it and whatever. It obviously may not be as much. And I get that's a big reason why they still do it, is to help those younger or those other smaller programs out. But what do we really learn from these types of games? Not a whole lot, but it does help them get ready. And especially in West Virginia's case, it helps them kind of shake the cobwebs off and understand what they've got. So it wasn't going to be this 77-0 type of game. They weren't going to dominate on the offense and defensive line of scrimmage throughout the entirety of the game. As much talent as they have, or more talent than Robert Morris has, it was just never going to happen. There's so many new pieces coming together. It's going to take time for that thing to gel, especially up front. But there's a lot of people concerned about that first half, and I'm not one of them. I'm really not. The fumbles are clearly an issue. You had 4 fumbles, 3 of them which you lost. They all happened, it felt like, right in a row. That needs to be fixed, absolutely. But if you look at every other aspect of the game, whether that was pass protection, throwing the football, making the right reads in the RPO game, whether it was hitting the hole in the run game, blocking for the most part was okay. It wasn't bad. It wasn't great. It was just okay. Catching the ball was okay. Getting open, I thought, was pretty good. It just came down to the fumbles. Defensively, I mean, you couldn't have scripted a better start to the season for Zach Alley. I mean, those guys were just flying all over the place. Robert Morris finished with 123 total yards of defense, or of offense. Folks, go back to last year against Albany. So for those people that just say, "Oh, it's just Robert Morris," No. We can't. After last year, no one can take these FCS games for granted, because Albany threw for over 300 yards on Jordan Leslie's defense. So while you can say, yes, it's just an FCS opponent, I get it. Yes, they're going to get better tested. They're going to face stiffer opponents moving forward, especially this week against Ohio. But there's a lot that you can pull from this that are positives that you can be excited about, and that should translate. And that's the effort, the strain, the angles that they're taking, the pursuit, finishing off tackles, guys flocking to the ball. You have several hats flocking to the ball. That was not the case a year ago, even in this FCS game. So to me, that's a smart, or not a smart, but a safe feeling to have, is that you can feel pretty good about where the defense is at right now. I'm not projecting they're going to be a top 10 defense in the country. I'm not saying they're going to be best in the Big 12. But after one game, that's all we have to see. It's one little piece of sample size. It's one small bite, but it tastes pretty good, right? It's a lot better than what it was in that FCS game a year ago. Don't take that for granted. So what it all boils down to is, again, the fumbles. And as Rich Rod always says, if you don't, that it's not just protecting the football, you're protecting the program. And they didn't do a whole heck of a good job of that yesterday. So if you remove the fumbles, I think that game gets out of hand by halftime. It's probably 38 nothing, 38-3, whatever you want to say. And we're probably seeing Jalen Henderson earlier. We're probably seeing Scotty Fox earlier and Khalil Wilkins earlier. That's just the nature of it. There is not one single aspect of the game in that first half where I was like, oh boy, that's going to be a problem. Like, I didn't see anything that Robert Morris was doing that should be any cause for concern. It was literally self-inflicted wounds. And if you take care of that, you might be okay. And as I said on the postgame show yesterday with Eugene, I think fixing the ball security thing is a somewhat easy thing to fix. It wasn't like you had repeat offenders out there. You just had a couple of guys, and the ball got a helmet on it. It's going to happen. It's not ideal. You can still protect it, but those things, in my opinion, are much easier to fix than guys building chemistry with their quarterback and the timing with their quarterback and getting your five up front to be in unison, which again is still a work in progress. But fixing those fumble issues that came from just a few different guys, and it wasn't just one repeat offender, I think that can be fixed. Now, will they go to Ohio next week and fumble it a couple times? Maybe. But it's not a major concern. It's not, hey, they just gave up 300 yards in the air to Robert Morris. You see what I'm saying here? You can recover in that game against Robert Morris when you turn the ball over 3 times. The problem is you're not going to be able to do that this week in Athens, and you're not going to be able to do it any other game the rest of the season. So that has to get fixed. I'm not trying to downplay it. I'm not trying to say that it's not an issue. It absolutely is. You have to, as Rich Rod says, protect the program. Have to. Valuing the football has to be a premium with this offense. If they can do that, I think they can be a pretty decent team. Because you look at what Nico did, and it wasn't like he had the most challenging game plan or the most challenging. How do I want to put this? I don't think Rich Rod tested him too much. I think they wanted to give him a confidence boost, give him a lot of easy completions, but at the same time, go back to the last 2 years, Gigi, didn't hit those layups at a consistent enough rate. So you can't really take that for granted. But still, I think it was a really good game by Nico in doing what was asked of him. He didn't try to do too much. He wasn't trying to force things. He looked like a calm quarterback that had matured. That's what you want to see. Now, if he can keep that up and eventually, sprinkle in some more deep balls, we saw the one to Cam Vaughn for the touchdown, but if you get a couple of more of those, all of a sudden, the offense is in decent shape. And you compare that with a defense that looks, I don't know if they've earned the salty tag just yet, but I mean, they shown some things. They've shown some things now. So Overall, I don't think there's much to be concerned about from this first game. It's 82 new players, right? Or 81, whatever the number is, 81, 82. Having that many new players and yet still going out and beating somebody 45-3, a game you should win by that type of margin. I mean, what else do you want? Do you want it to be 70-0? Yeah, I mean, sure, everyone would love to see that. But when you bring 82 new players together, you're bringing a quarterback that's never been the full-time starter. You got 5 very inexperienced offensive linemen, receivers who have been repping with 5 different quarterbacks throughout fall camp. You have a defense that's learning on the fly. I mean, it's not going to be that shouldn't have been the expectation, 70-0. If this was year 2, year 3, sure, you can have those types of expectations, but you're just going to be disappointed. Lower the bar, and understand this year it's just going to be stacking games on top of games and performances on top of performances. You're only going to get better. And the one thing I kept trying to remind people yesterday is like, look, what you see today should be the worst it ever looks. Now, are you going to have games that are really bad and you just have a really bad Saturday? Yes, that's naturally going to happen, even if it's in year 4 or year 5 of this regime. It's natural to have those setbacks. But as an overall unit, this team should continue to improve and look better, look more crisp, cleaner, and be able to put together a better overall performance week in and week out as the season goes, as the years go. What we saw Saturday should be ground zero, right? From here, moving forward, it's just stacking performances and getting better. And as we've seen over the years, whether it was here at West Virginia or Arizona or Jack State, Rich Rodriguez coached teams are much better in November than what they are in September, or in this case, August. And that's how it should be. You should be getting better. You should be a much better team by the end of the year. So if this is ground zero or level 1, whatever you want to call it, not bad for 82 players. Not bad for 82 players. We're not saying that after this game they're going to go win the Big 12 title now. That's not what I'm telling you. I'm not telling you they're going to go and for sure make a bowl game or win 7 or 8 games. I'm not telling you there's anything that's certain. But after what I've saw yesterday, I think they did what they were supposed to do. Let's just leave it at that. They outgained Robert Morris 625 to 123. Again, what area outside of the fumbles should be concerning to you? You can say the offensive line, and I'm just going to come back to you with what did you expect with 5 new guys? Even if it's against an FCS team, you're still thinking. It's not necessarily Robert Morris dominating you. I don't think that's what it was. And I don't even think there was any bit of that. Some plays just didn't work. There was just not enough, fire off the ball in some instances. I don't think that there was even anything overly concerning with the offensive line, other than I think there was just a little too much thinking going on, and those guys are still figuring out how to play off of one another. That offensive line is like a chain link, and if one of those links pops loose on one play, then it's a busted play. If they can stay together and understand what each other is going to do and what their actions are on certain plays, then they'll be fine. I don't think there's anything overly concerning with the offensive line yet. Saturday, we'll see. We'll get a better read on that on Saturday. So really, at the end of the day, my takeaway is just protect the program. Protect the program, and you're going to have a shot to be a decent team. So that's going to do it for me here today on Between Ears. I'm Schuyler Callihan. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button here on the YouTube page at West Virginia on SI. We'll be off tomorrow, but we will have the Rich Rod press conference and the coaches show going on tomorrow, so we'll have quotes up from that or stories, whatever needs to go up, we'll have up on the website at West Virginia on SI. Tuesday we'll be back and Wednesday with an episode of BT, and then we'll get back into it with our Walk Thru GameDay Show, breaking down West Virginia and Ohio. So thank you guys for tuning in for week 1, and we hope to see you back here on Tuesday. Take care.